Hello and welcome. In my previous video, Bob Crabtree, pork pies, which is on YouTube, I mentioned the use of a dolly to make individual pork pies. This video will show you how to make pork pies using a dolly in the 21st century. I couldn't muster the skills of the past masters of raising the casing up the dolly. So this method I have devised makes making a pork pie a lot easier. I have also produced a booklet to go with it titled How to Make a £1 Pork Pie My Way. Up until now, I didn't realise how much gear you needed to make a pork pie. We'll just run through them. A couple of bowls for mixing the flour and the dough, a sieve for sieving the flour, scales, a glass, tell you about that later, a spoon for mixing, the dolly, the tin and the plastic bag. In here we have a tray. According to Delia Smith, you need one of those preheated and you don't get a soggy bottom. That is a thermometer that goes in the oven and tells you your temperature. That's a thermometer that tells you the temperature of the meat in the pie. You need a brush, a hole maker, one or two little bits for fancy decoration, a spoon, a knife, a syringe, a pair of scissors, cling film, a mat for the pastry and some kitchen foil. These are all the ingredients we need to make a pork pie. Strong white flour, protein content 13 grams per 100 grams. Ordinary plain flour, leaf gelatine, salt, pepper, black or white, water, milk, stock cube, lard, egg, butter, shoulder of pork, belly of pork, parsley, thyme and sage. What we're doing now is mixing the flour to make the pastry for 4 pork pie casings. We cannot use this, what we're doing today, because it won't be pliable. It will just be like a soggy mess. But we've got 2 here that we've made earlier. You put it in the cling film, put it in the fridge overnight, and as you can see, it's like plasticine, and we can mould that into these casings. And we'll show you that shortly when we make the pastry. Right, I am now mixing the flour and the salt to make the pastry. I've got 10 ounces of strong white flour and I'm going to put in another 10 ounces of plain flour. So that should read £1 4 ounces. There we go. Tablespoonful of salt. So we just sieve this, make sure there's no lumps in it, nice and smooth. And you're probably wondering why I've got this apron on. Well, the name's Crabtree, Bob Crabtree. The wife name's Evelyn, and she answers to Ellie, and she features in the book. That's that. In the saucepan we have 5 ounces of lard, 1 ounce of butter, half a pint of liquid made up of a 1/4 pint of milk and a 1/4 pint of water, and then we bring this to the boil. Right, the liquid is now ready to be put into the flour and mixed. We do it half and half. I use the wooden spoon upside down. If I use that, it just clogs up. So we stir that in. And then we put the rest in. Mix it. Let that cool down, and now we get to the assembly bit. We're greasing the tin to prevent the pastry sticking and to make it easier to get out when it's cooked. So we do that on the tin, this on the bottom, and then for the first one we flick the flour in to there, which will stick to the lard. Roll it around. Same again with the bottom. That's one. Do 2 at a time. So, we take that out of there. Well, we try and make it as round as possible, but we always don't get it right. See how pliable it is now? If you try to work that as hot water crust pastry straight out of the bowl, you've got no chance. Right. We try to centralise that as much as possible so we get somewhere near. Give it a press. And we hold it up to the light, and if you can see your fingers behind it, that's okay. So we put it back on there, and then we start. And there we have a casing. As easy as that. And to make it doubly sure it doesn't stick, we give it a bit of TLC, don't we? You can see how it's coming away from the plastic bag already. So, yeah. We take that, and with a bit of luck, and just mould it into the tin, gradually easing it down. Is it down to the bottom, you say? Well, if you tilt that and do that, that's all the way down to the bottom. Now here's the magic. No more sweating. Bingo. Now you notice you've got 1 or 2 holes in it. That makes it a lot easier to take out there because there's no suction. If that's all tight, then it sucks up the pastry. So we just work it round. You can feel the thickness you want. That's it. Finger. Rub those over the edge. Just keep moulding it. And just under the rim, and just take it off. That bit becomes the lid. Okay. And the same again. So it's become the potter's wheel now, going around in circles. A lot easier than struggling up the dolly. Now, what I did learn the other day, one of these MasterChef people, he was making a quiche. And he says if you egg wash the inside of the casing, you get a bit of crust on your quiche. So, we'll try it, shall we? Now the meat. I take a piece of the meat and now we dice it. Unless you like pork in the middle of your pork pie like a brick, then mince it. But tradition says dice it. When you're cutting up the meat, you've got, how much did we say? 36 ounces of meat, and it'll take you about an hour and 10 minutes to cut it all up. So we'll skip that, and here it is. Right, so we prepared the meat. It's seasoned, salt, pepper, parsley, sage, thyme, and now we assemble it by switching on the scales. We zero that in. And we have approximately 10 ounces of meat per pie. Just firm it down gradually, slowly, no rush, nice and even. It'll do me 2 1/10s. Right, this is the surplus pastry we cut off, and this forms the lid. So a little bit more flour. Knead it quite thin. We should double it up on the side and you get a big thick crust. That's alright if you like big thick crust. Egg wash around the rim. That goes up there. Pressing down. You need a big hole to let the steam out, else you get a soggy bottom, I reckon. The reason we've got a recess in there, because if we get an overspill of the juices coming out there, it retains it. Once it gets over the top and down the side, it welds together, and it's a hell of a job to get out. Right, so now I can put some decoration on it. What shall we have? Shall we have big leaves? Don't want Christmas, do we? No. Alright, we make a little bun to go in it, to finish it off. When we filled it with stock, we just make a little, I think it's a larger than an ebony. Just shape it like that, like that, like that. And that drops in there when it's finished. You leave it out while you're cooking so the steam can escape. If you really want to get to town, you can make some little balls to go through. Did you know to make ball bearings you need 2 flat surfaces? Like that. Do that and you get a ball. Yeah, you can play to your heart's content. I used to use it with pastry. If you prick them, they look like berries. We've now taken the pies out of the fridge. They're in there for 20 minutes. The oven's been going for 20 minutes to get up to temperature. And now we're placing the pies in the oven in a strategic manner, because we have a temperamental oven. We have to change these about so it cooks. And that's the beauty of a fan oven. That's that. Now we have this wonderful clock here. Right, we put the timer on for 20 minutes. Right, we're just manipulating the pies because of this temperamental oven. So bring that one down to there, turn it through 180 degrees. Send that one up there, turn it through 180 degrees. Put the covers on, stop it burning the tops. And then we'll leave it for another 20 minutes. These have been in 40 minutes. They're on a preheated tray, according to Delia Smith that is. If you put it on a preheated tray, you don't get a soggy bottom. And I found she's about 99.9999 correct. Right, we're making sure that the meat is cooked. So anything over 75 on the thermometer, and we're okay. So what have we got? 64, 89, well over 90, 85, 93, yeah. So we're okay, the meat's cooked. The leak is there, I don't know why. Now, remember we mentioned the glass. Now, this is a Tommy Cooper trick. How about that? Right, and the second one. How well is it? Ooh, it's dripping. It's a leaking. Right, we're now just coating them with egg wash, make them look nice, all the way around. Yeah, see how we go. They were done yesterday, so you don't need to do them again. Now time to insert the stock into the pies. Stock in a saucepan. Stock it up in the syringe. It's a lot easier with a syringe. And then you just go to the hole and fill it up till it comes out the top. There it is. Okay. And every 2 minutes or so you just keep topping it up. And that's the job done. As you can see, we've got 4 pies here. 2 were made yesterday, 2 were made today. Looking in good nick. It all depends on the taste, of course. Everyone's different. But they were made to the instructions on this little booklet that hopefully will go with the vid. And we've been through the equipment needed earlier on. The ingredients we went through. But we'll do the verbals for you making the pastry. Okay, now we're going to make the pastry. Sieve 10 ounces of plain flour and 10 ounces of strong white flour in a mixing bowl. In a saucepan, place 5 ounces of lard, 1 ounce of butter and a teaspoonful of salt, and combine with half a pint of milk and water, meaning a quarter pint of each, and bring to a boiling point. Pour the mixture into the sieved flour and combine, use the handle of the wooden spoon to form a dough. When cool enough to handle, knead the dough until smooth and wrap in cling film. Let it cool and place in the fridge. For best results, leave overnight. At this stage, the pastry is very soft. When it is removed from the fridge, the pastry becomes like plasticine. To prepare the pork pie meat, I'm using 26 ounces of pork shoulder, and 10 ounces of pork belly. And sometimes I use smoked bacon, but it's all a matter of taste, but we didn't use smoked bacon today. Dice all the meat, do not mince, into a bowl and season with 2 teaspoons each of parsley, sage, thyme, white pepper and salt. Mix thoroughly, cover with cling film and place in the fridge overnight. To assemble the pie, we're using a 4-inch diameter by 3-inch tall loose bottom baking tin. Coat the inside and loose bottom with lard and then apply a coating of flour. Cut the pastry into 4 equal portions. Cover the upturned dolly with plastic freezer bag and mould pastry around the dolly until it is thin enough to be inserted into the baking tin. Dust the pastry with flour before inserting into the tin. Remove the dolly, leaving the plastic freezer bag in place. Using your fingers, gently form the pastry around the tin to an even thickness. Remove the plastic freezer bag and curl the pastry over the edge of the tin. Fill the open pastry case with 10 ounces of prepared diced pork. Trim the pastry from around the outside of the tin and use this for the lid. Coat the inside of the visible pastry with egg yolk and roll out the pastry for the lid. Fix the lid to the pie wall and pinch with fingers to form a seal. Using a cutter, make a hole in the centre of the lid to allow steam to escape while cooking. With any surplus pastry, decorate the top of the pie with shapes and mace a pastry plug to fit the central hole. Cook this separately for about 15 minutes until brown. Put the assembled pie into the fridge for 20-30 minutes and place a tray in the oven, which should be heated to 180 or 90 degrees C. This is a tip from Delia, who says that if you heat the baking tin up to temperature, you won't get a soggy bottom. When the oven has reached the correct temperature, place the pies on the tray and bake for 15 minutes. I cook 2 at a time. Rotate and cook for a further 15 minutes. Today we did 20. Cover the pie with foil to prevent the top from burning. Reduce the heat to 150-160 degrees. Fan and cook for a further 30 minutes. Rotate again and cook for a further 30 minutes. Check that the pie meat has reached a temperature of 75 degrees or above. Use a cooking thermometer. After the required cooking time, remove from the oven and cool for 10 minutes, and then release the pie from the tin by pushing up the loose bottom. That's by using the jar. Coat the pie all over with egg wash and return to oven at 180-190 degrees temperature for about 5-6 minutes to produce a nice golden brown finish. Whilst pie is cooking, make the stock using a stock, cubes and gelatine and put to one side. Remove the pie from the oven and place on a cooling rack for 30 minutes. Using a syringe, insert the stock around the edge of the pie. Keep topping it up until it is full, as the stock will sink on cooling. Place the decorative pastry plug in the centre hole. Place the pie into the fridge when cool. Now, if you wish to freeze the pie for later consumption, when cold, wrap it in greaseproof paper and seal with cling film. Overwrap with baking foil and layers of newspaper. Insert the whole package into the freezer bag and seal. The pie will keep to 2 to 3 months. And to eat from frozen, remove to the fridge. Do not unwrap and allow 2 days to defrost. Take from the fridge and bring to room temperature. Eat and enjoy. Now, I'm going to ask you a favour as well. Because I've just done all this work. I'm going to ask you to make these pies according to this recipe, sell them all to friends and relatives, and all the money you collect, donate it to Stand Up to Cancer. You're going to make that promise for me? Okay. Thank you very much. Good night.